Welcome to Jets Life Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony, joined as always by Big Dom 77. We're recording today on Wednesday. We'll be posting this video on Thursday when you'll see it live or when you'll see it as recorded. But we're recording especially because we have ourselves a big-time guest in the Jets world of YouTubers and podcasters and content creators and analysts as well. We're happy to kind of go off our normal routine and introduce the one and only, one of the best in the biz, Mr. Jake Asman. Jake, how's everything going, man?
What's up, guys? Appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks for the kind words.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. We're happy to make it. Happy to accommodate your schedule too. Make this possible. But we'll get right into it with the Jets. And I know we only have 30 minutes with you, so we'll try and keep this thing moving along. But first things first. The Jets go into the offseason, a roster with major holes, a lot of things to improve on. And, we all had our wish list, things that we would like to get addressed. But when you look at this team, how would you grade out the offseason to this point in time? Where do you think they've improved the most? Where do you still like to see this team improve? And I'll let you start there.
Yeah, I think they've raised the floor of their roster of what they could maybe be, especially defensively. I mean, most of their moves at this point have been to try and revamp, if you will, the defense. I mean, it's hard to be any worse than where they were a year ago, especially the team that they ended the season with. So, I mean, look, I like a lot of the moves they've made. I think we could debate whether or not, Geno Smith's going to be able to lead them to the promised land, to quote the head coach, but I think he's clearly an upgrade over Justin Fields. So, they have 4 picks in the top 44 coming up. So there's going to be a real push now to you maybe raise the floor, but now can you add some potential star level players, especially at pick 2? I mean, that's got to be, a swing for a legit superstar level player. I mean, we're talking about any player in this draft not named Fernando Mendoza. So it really starts there. If they take a defensive player, you're adding to what they've already done defensively. And, pick 16 could be an offensive player. There's just so many different things they could do. But I think they've done a nice job improving the roster without sacrificing the long-term future in any of the moves they've made so far.
Is there a move particularly that they were all kind of low-grade moves. There was no big splash. But is there a move particularly that kind of struck your eye and you think kind of was the move to kind of identify his team as moving in the right direction more than any others?
My favorite move they made was the Minka Fitzpatrick move, just because it just shows that we might actually have a competent general manager. To get Minka for a 7th, and they only acquired that 7th in the first place because that's what they got in the Brownlee deal from the Titans earlier last season. I just thought that was shrewd GMing by Darren Mougey, and then you get the contract done. I mean, let's be honest about the state of the Jets. There's not a bunch of free agents who are lining up to come and play for them. So you got to be creative with how you add guys, and to get a guy like Minka, who's still a good player, 29 years old, and add him to that safety room. I thought that was huge. So that was my favorite move they made. And then, as a diehard fan like you guys, like seeing Demario Davis come back. I know he's older, but he's still really good. If you watch him last year, he's still one of the, the better middle linebackers in the league, which is crazy. But I think they needed adults in the room. I think Glenn even mentioned it at the league meetings last week. And a guy like Demario Davis, Minka Fitzpatrick, those guys fit exactly what they've been missing defensively.
And when I saw the Minka trade go through, it was like a couple hours before the free agency period started. And I think that's what kind of got me the most. It's like, oh, wow, like before you're even ready to kind of get rolling, they're already active and getting things moving along. And then, like you said, Demario Davis, I'm still, like, to this point, like, when people say his name, it's like I forget that he's even, like, on the roster, how that, like, even came to fruition. But, yeah. Let's get into Glenn. I know, obviously, sore subject for a lot of fans, but it's the state of the nation we're in. But Aaron Glenn, obviously, first season, 3-14, left a lot to be undesired. The team was just a mess towards the tail end of the season. I know you kind of gotten your thing going with what does Aaron Glenn do well as a head coach, but what does he need to do?
We're still waiting to get the answer to that one, by the way.
I don't know. I've been looking for it a few too, man. I can't find it. But what do you need to see in this coming season? Obviously, we saw the draft coming up, but what do you need to see from this team on the field that would make you kind of turn your opinion against him to think that maybe he does have something to move in the right direction?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is you got to win games, right? But I think it's how they get there that matters. Like they can't obviously start 0-7 again. He's cooked at that point, but they need to get off to like a 2-2 start, 3-3 through 6, because I remember Adam Gase's first year. He started 1-7. He lost the fan base, even though they were 6-2 after that, and actually finished 7-9, right? And I don't think Aaron can start 1-7 and actually survive the year like Gase did, because now Glenn is going into year 2. He needs to get out to a much better start. Can you win a divisional game early? Can you come out week 1 again for the second straight year? Be ready to play, but actually win the game this time. I think it's a lot of like, yes, the win total matters, but it's also like, how do you start? Like, are we going to have a season? Like, we're 3 diehard Jet fans here. The Jets didn't have a season last year. They started 0-7. I was at the game in Tampa where they dropped to 0-3. And at that point, once they lost to Miami a week later on Monday night, like it was over. Like we couldn't even get through September with us, like even thinking this team could like hang around and be in the mix, be in the hunt. That to me is the biggest thing. Like get off to a way better start and prove that, hey, you learned from the disaster that was the first year. You got your guys in here now. You made the improvements to the coaching staff. Let's see if it actually pays dividends with him being a better coach.
I got a question, Jake. With the actual new head coaches that were, well, not head coaches, but all the new coaches that were hired and all that. I mean, what's your take on Frank Reich? I mean, compared to all the coaches out there, I mean, I don't think there was anybody out there that would have probably came into this job. I mean, I think he was the best available. But in the same sense, I think he's established. I think he could do good things with the Jets. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think you kind of nailed it, Dom. I mean, he's probably the best of what was available, right? I mean, it's just an attractive job. Like, hey, Geno Smith, you get to coordinate him, and we had the second pick in the draft, but it's a 1 quarterback. You know what I mean? It's not a great job, especially when the head coach is lucky to have his job. He's on the hot seat going into year 2. So I think the fact that they got a guy who at least is, again, like an adult in the room, he's had some success in the league. I do think that he'll be an upgrade over what we saw last year with the offensive staff under Tanner Engstrand. I don't have the highest of expectations, but I think Frank Reich's a pro. I think he's a guy that, is capable of coordinating a competent offense. I don't think he's just going to be like this, innovative young offensive mind that we see around the league, but I don't think he's inept. So from that standpoint, they probably have improved in that department.
I agree for sure.
I think whenever we talk about like what we want to see out of this team and switching over to the offense side of the ball, I think the one thing that we kind of want to see on offense and want to see his team kind of take that step in the right direction is, can you just look like an NFL offense? Can you just like kind of show the ability to kind of progress the ball down the field on a consistent basis and not look like you have a quarterback who's scared to throw the football, not have a quarterback who just can't complete short passes like we have with Zach Wilson? Can we just move in that right direction? And once you start getting that built in, you feel like there's potential to kind of, and you kind of turn your gear towards 2027 at some point in time, like whether it's a quarterback then or now. Can we actually kind of show like the world that we have a sustainable kind of functioning offense that can well suit a young quarterback? Because that's definitely something that has to get figured out very, very soon.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think they're that far away if they get this draft right or they make a trade for Brian Thomas Jr., right? I mean, they have a number 1 receiver. They have a legit running back in Breece Hall. The offensive line is solid. They have a tight end who I think could take a big step in year 2 in Mason Taylor. I think A.D. Mitchell is a nice complementary wide receiver 3. Like you have the makings of some competency there offensively. Let's say Geno Smith is closer to what he was in Seattle than the version we got last year with the Raiders. Top 18 quarterback in the league with a decent O-line, a good running back. Like draft Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson or whoever at 16, and all of a sudden, you have something there. They're not that far away. Again, Frank Reich, is he competent? He should be. Can Geno be a lot better than he was last year? I think he will be. Is that good enough to win probably 9 or 10 games? Probably not in the AFC, but at least we'll have a season perhaps. Like if you want to try and spin it forward and try and find things to be optimistic about, I don't think they're that far away offensively if they hit on these picks and they get the competent quarterback play we've been talking about.
I mean, it'd be pretty awesome to go into November, possibly December, still watching football for something,
Right?
Instead of like, all right, let's start mock drafts 2027.
I think we did our first mock draft on this show, like October of last year? I think it was the first mock draft we did on this show, so it's brutal. And we probably still will be next year, especially having 3 first-round picks, so it'll probably make it interesting. But I'd rather be doing mock drafts because someone else's pick than our own for the billionth time.
Hey, Jake, I got another question. Ty Simpson, what's your feeling about him?
I like him enough where they took him in the second round. I would have no problem with that. I would understand. I don't like the idea of taking him at 16. It's not even just him, even though I do have issues with just the fact he'd be a big outlier with the lack of starts that he has made. But it's more so just this coaching staff conversation we've already been having. Like, all right, you're starting the year with Gino, but then you're going to go to Ty. Well, is he ready to play? How many games does he actually play? Glenn's trying to save his job. If he doesn't win enough games, you fire Glenn. Ty is still here. Do we know what we have in Ty Simpson if he's only playing in, let's say, 8 or 9 games in 2026? Then you have a new coaching staff that's coming in. They didn't draft Ty Simpson. They might want their own guy. Part of the reason the job's attractive is you got 3 first-round picks, better quarterback class in all likelihood. I just think it kind of muddies the situation. If they take him in the second round, all right, no harm, no foul. If it doesn't work out, whatever. You invest a 16th overall pick in the guy. Now it starts to get a little complicated. I'd rather just avoid that because I like him. I don't love him. Again, he's a little undersized. It's 15 career games. The first 7 or 8 were awesome. The back end wasn't. Like I don't think the Jets need to use the 16th pick on that type of player.
I totally agree. I mean, like you said it before, man, because we were talking about it yesterday. Like, let's just assume they drafted him and he comes in. Like, let's say they draft him even in like at 16th or even at the second round, that 33rd pick, and he just shows enough. Just that's what scares me the most. Shows enough where the Jets are saying, well, we think we had our guy. You know what I'm saying? And then 2027 completely avoid quarterback would be a complete disaster. And that almost happened. That happened with Hackenberg kind of in a way when they drafted him in the second round. They completely avoided quarterback back in those days when Deshaun Watson was there and Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I just don't want that to happen again next year if, that is what it is.
Yeah. Look, again, if you take Ty at 16, you got to love him. Like, it's got to be like organizationally, we are all aligned. Hey, we're going to bet on this guy who would be an outlier because here's the reason why we're all in agreement. This is our plan for him. You can't like him and take him at 16. You got to love him. You can like him at 33 and get away with it. But at 16, I think is a different conversation to your point.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think that conversation, Dom, gets a little easier when you're saying, okay, we picked this guy at 33. He showed us a little bit, but we're still picking top 5, and there's always quarterbacks here. When you're having that conversation about a guy you just picked a 16th overall over potentially another number 1 wide receiver, potentially a strong offensive lineman, possibly, there's other options there too. It just makes it a little bit more of a tough conversation. That's why, I've always been I'm hoping they pass on at 16. I'm hoping somebody falls in love with him in between 16 and 20 or 16 and 30. So it's not even a conversation we have to kind of even entertain at that point. So
yeah, 100%.
Talking about the draft, Jake, I guess obviously, the signs are pointing towards Arvell Reese at number 2 and/or David Bailey being that pick at number 2, more likely Reese than others. What would be your kind of dream scenario? Obviously, wide receiver at 16 would be perfect, but assuming that those guys are not available, what would be your dream scenario at 16? And if they can't nab a wide receiver at 16, are you for or against a potential double dip at wide receiver in the second round? How would you like to see them kind of approach that, considering they ignored it in free agency?
So I want one at 16, and I'm even willing to trade up to get one if I had to use 16 and 44 to say, hey, let's get up to number 10 with the Bengals, and let's make sure we get in front of Miami and the Rams, who could be taking wideouts, and let's get someone. I'm willing to do that. Maybe they just stay at 16, to your point, Anthony, and they just draft who's ever there, Tyson, Omar Cooper, Mekhi Lemon. I'm good with it. But to me, playmaker at 16. I don't love the idea of taking Kenyon Sadiq at 16, but I know it's in play. I just think they have to invest in an offensive weapon because they haven't done it yet. And right now it's Garrett Wilson. And then what? Like, I like A.D. Mitchell. I've had him on my show. I think he's going to be a lot better this year with a full, year to be, adjust to being a Jet and all that. But you can't rely on that. I mean, they can't make the mistake they made last year where we knew they were an injury to Garrett Wilson away from having nothing. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, yeah. And that was pretty pitiful watching that.
Far too many times, I feel like a big reason why, this whole drought, I mean, obviously other reasons to it too, But there have been so many times I feel like we go into a season with that type of scenario where it's like you're putting a lot of trust in a guy who maybe hasn't earned enough of it, and they either underperform or they perform kind of where you expected them to perform and just don't show improvement. And then you find out that wasn't a strength, it wasn't a possible strength, ends up being a weakness, and you're stuck with it. So yeah, definitely something that needs to be upgraded moving forward with that team. Going to the skill position still, just kind of sticking in that route. Breece Hall, obviously franchise tagged. The expectation is that they're going to give him a long-term, they're going to try and give him a long-term contract. But obviously, this team does have to like kind of keep their eyes toward the future. Is running back. I know it's not a popular pick, and I'm not saying it's too for Jeremiah Love, but is that something that you're eyeing, saying, hey, if we don't know what's going to happen with Breece Hall, we need offensive skill players. Maybe the receivers in the second round aren't, the guys that we're thinking about. Is that something that you can see this team going for? There's guys like Jadarian Price out there that are pretty solid options as a running back in the second round. Is that something you would like to see his team do?
I'd be a little surprised if they took a running back that high. You can't rule it out, though. I mean, Braylon Allen's coming off surgery. Like, he wasn't drafted by this regime. Isaiah Davis is a nice third down running back. Reese is going into the last year of his deal. They don't get an extension done. So you can't rule it out. They really like Price. That'd be an interesting one. I don't think they'll take Love at 2. I know there was some talk of that. I think that's just due diligence. So if they draft a running back, look, it's not the craziest theory. I'd be a little surprised if they did it in round 2, though.
Mm-hmm.
What about the idea of I kind of say it to myself, and I don't know if it's even worth it. I know, you got powerhouse defensive linemen on top of the draft and all that, but what if the Jets were to stick at 2, not trade down, and take the best receiver at that point? Let's say they took a Carnell Tate at number 2. I mean, would that be the worst situation ever?
I don't think so. I mean, look, this team doesn't score points, so it's like, all right, we're just taking the best receiver at 2. Call it again, is he your typical number 2 overall pick in the draft player? No, but this is a draft that's not loaded with premium, historic level talent like we've seen in the past. You don't have the run on quarterbacks. You don't have as many great offensive tackles. So it's a different kind of draft. And do I think the Jets are going to do that? No. Would I personally hate it if they did? No, I wouldn't. We're all sick and tired of watching garbage offense. You took Carnell Tate, paired him with Garrett Wilson, protect Geno Smith, have Breece Hall, A.D. Mitchell, Mason Taylor. They could be decent. I don't hate it at all. Now, what I think happens is they probably take Arvell, Reese, or David Bailey, and then we see what they do at 16. Maybe they move up. But I don't hate that. I think some in the fan base might, but I think Jet fans, most of us are just sick of watching this offense and lack thereof, and why not go for it?
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best case scenario is sticking with Reese at 2, and then the trade up scenario, because a lot of mock drafts, a lot of them out there have low expectations of Tyson being a top 15 pick because of the injuries. But I don't know. I've watched that guy play so much, and I know the injuries are scary, but that guy's got some talent. And, if it weren't for the injuries, we'd probably be talking about him as a top 5 pick. And honestly, probably wouldn't even mind, having this conversation with him at number 2 if it wasn't for those injuries. But this team has to ensure that they get one of these top receivers in this class. A trade up would definitely do that for you, because there's a big drop off. Maybe Omar Cooper kind of finds himself in that realm. What do you think about Omar Cooper? Is that a player that you're happy with at 16, or you think that's a better scenario for dropping down a little bit, maybe a trade up type of situation from 33? What's your views on Cooper?
I like Cooper. It's kind of a little weird that he was like a second round guy. And now no games are being played, and here we go. He's going in the top 16. I'm always a little concerned when something like that happens. That said, if you watch him, he really does a lot of things well. He's just really solid, clutch, big catch radius, great route tree. There's a lot to like. Again, if the Jet decision is, do we take the 4th best receiver or Kenyon Sadiq, the number 1 tight end, I still would probably go with the receiver because I just think offense is so important. I like him. If you told me the Jets took him at 16, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. I'm on that train too.
Yeah, I think I'd be open to the Sadiq option at 16. But if you're doing that, I still think you need someone on the outside as well. You can't just go into the season with Garrett Wilson and still sticking with A.D. Mitchell and Sadiq as your primary receivers. Plus, you got Mason Taylor there. I think he showed some promise as a rookie. Maybe later in the draft, get a secondary tight end to kind of work with him a little bit behind Ruckert or in front of Ruckert. But yeah, the receiver. That's one of the conversations just won't go away until this team figures it out.
Better get it right.
Oh yeah, that's the most important.
So Jake, I guess. Oh, you had some, Dom?
No, I was good.
All right. But do you have a grade of how you think this team kind of progressed? Do you have obviously we still have the draft in front of us. There's still a lot of time between now and the draft. But do you think that this team is kind of improved from win percentage wise, and what will it actually take from a win total? Do you think there's a win total in mind, for Aaron Glenn? Obviously not in mind, but do you think there's a win total where, okay, you can kind of put it away. Aaron Glenn's going to be here next year. Nothing you can really do about it. Obviously, it's fashion points matter as well for Glenn. You can't get blown out. But do you think there's a target of okay, he hits this number, he's here, he's locked in, and he's the one making the picks in 2027?
At least 7 games, and that might not necessarily save him, depending on what how they get to the 7. But he's got to win at least 7.
Yeah, I think. And the crazy thing is, you look at this roster, and 7 just seems compared to what we saw last year, 7 seems like such a reach. I don't know, man. You'd like to see his team improve, obviously, but for Aaron Glenn to get there, there's got to be a massive.
He needs to improve. You know what I mean? The team they started the year with should not have been 0-7. Remember, there were Jet fans saying 9-8, 10 wins. Oh, we're going to be better coach. He said that. He basically took shots at the Salas staff saying, they weren't coached properly. Justin Fields never been coached right. Dude, he had Mike Tomlin. He benched him at 4-2. You know more than Tomlin? Okay. Will McDonald, it's coaching, man. It's coaching. Chastising the media after Arian Smith made some nice catches in a training camp practice. Dude, he finished with 7 on the year. It's just, he had a disastrous year 1. All the built up, feel good storyline that he had with him because he was a former Jet. He threw it right out the window with how he acted in the 0-7 start. So, the odds are stacked against him. He's going to have to really prove he could coach. Chris Banjo proved he could coach, right? We know what good coaching it looks like when we see it. We saw it with him. That's the only positive from the season a year ago. Again, it became a meme on social media, but no one can actually say what Aaron Glenn does well as a head coach. He's got to prove he is a good head coach. He says play calling is his superpower. Go fix the defense then. Take control of the things that you actually can control. The defense is all on him. If they're winning games, let's say they win 7 games, but the defense is a major reason why they won the 7, some of those solid years, then maybe you could say, okay, let him get his quarterback. There's some hope. But we got to really see good coaching for him to even have a chance to be here for another season.
Yeah, I'm on board with that as well. I agree. I was on the fence about him right off the bat, especially when they first hired him. Don't get me wrong. I know came over from Detroit, former Jet. I've seen him play at the stadium. Great Jet, actually. So I was kind of pumped up, But after that 0-7 start, man, all the words are starting. And I was like, man, this guy stinks. And you're right. He couldn't do anything right. Especially the last. He paraphrased the last 2 minutes of each. At the end of the half, that's where head coaches are born, and he couldn't even nail that, But yeah, I'm on board with you. I think 7-8 wins is a must, and even the games they lose, they better be pretty close. They can't be getting blown out by 20 points, to stick around.
Yeah, the way they lost at the end of last year, they broke records. And I get, they're tanking, they're playing Brady Cook. But they were the first team in NFL history to lose 5 games in a row by 23 or more points. They didn't have an interception for an entire season. What are we doing here? It was an embarrassment.
Yeah, that was an ultimate bad.
Yeah, especially being a defensive-minded guy. I know it was Wilkes' team and Wilkes' defense and all that aside, but you're still the defensive-minded head coach. The least you got to do is put out a strong defense out there. Sticking with obviously this regime, Mougey, I think we all have some, he's shown some good things, especially in the trade market. But one major flaw I noticed with him from what we've seen is his execution on day 3 last year. I feel, left a lot to be desired. I think that the Arian Smith pick, I don't know if Arian Smith is a player on this team. We'll see how it goes. maybe takes a step in the right direction this year. But what was your thoughts on Mougey, and what do you want to see from this guy? I mean, I feel like he really has to nail day 3 as well. I mean, this team needs as many starters, as many role players as they can get. What's your assessment of Mougey, and what do you want to see him accomplish in this draft?
I think he's done a good job so far. I mean, look, it hasn't been perfect. I mean, but I think if you go back to like the training camp deals he made with Briggs and Phillips to where we are now, most of the moves he's made, it'd be tough to say they weren't smart or they weren't well thought out. Like, again, the in-season trades, Briggs, Phillips, Brownlee, even the maximum value they got for Sauce and Quinnen, getting AD Mitchell thrown into the Sauce deal was awesome. Like, even like subtle things, like they get the better of the Dallas and Green Bay pick this upcoming season, right? Like, that's smart. They knew 2027 was a better draft class. Like, that's just good proactive thought process there. Getting something for Justin Fields, I thought was smart. Like, I just, there's a lot to like. The first draft class looks okay. Wembu looks really good. We'll see about Taylor, and I like Azaria Thomas. We got to see more. Hopefully he's healthy. He's got to get these picks right, because I do think there's a scenario where Darren Mougey's here and Aaron Glenn is not a year from now. But that scenario only plays itself out is if we look at the Mougey's job and say, look, he got these picks right. The coaching is just terrible. He's going to have to hit on these picks, especially the first 2 they're going to make on the 23rd, of night 1.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest key of all. I mean, a lot. He's done a lot well. I think that he's probably more likely here than not. But yeah, he's got to bring in some good players this draft, especially with top 44 picks. But yeah, I just want to see something better on day 3. I just feel like that's the one area if I'm nitpicking, and I guess with Jeff fans, that's what we do best. But if I'm nitpicking, I just feel like that's the one area that just as good as he's been, that's just been a major flaw. Like, none of these players seem like they're full-time players. But Jake, I know you got a few minutes here left. I wanted to make sure I left you a few minutes to kind of, leave out a message. I know you got some stuff going on for the draft, so I'll give you the opportunity to kind of promote that stuff for yourself. And then again, want to thank you for being on the show.
Yeah. Anyone going to Pittsburgh, draft party, McFadden's during the day, show up. It's right near where all the draft is. So if you're going to the draft, show up to McFadden's beforehand, after. You'll see a sea of Jet fans. We're making that like the hub for all the Jet fans making the trip. So I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
All right, Jake. Well, again, I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming on. I'll keep in touch. I'd like to get you on maybe as the season approaches, get your thoughts on the season. But again, appreciate you for jumping on. I know scheduling was a little difficult, but happy we were able to kind of accommodate and get this thing working out for you.
Yeah, I'm glad we made it happen before the draft. Hopefully the Jets give us reasons to buy in again, because I'm sure by September we'll be convinced it's going to be different. So hopefully
that's the way it works, man.
Yep.
Once September hits, the sky's the limit.
Always.
Take care, bud.
All right, Jake, appreciate it.
See you guys. Thank you.
Take care.
Again. All right, well, Jet fans, appreciate everyone. Jake, again, thank you for joining the show. It was a lot of fun. It's been a while since I've done these recording things, so it makes it a little difficult here. But Dom, any signing off words? If you have anything to say to Jake, or if you have anything to say to the fans?
No, I mean, I thank Jake for joining our show. It was great. We're 2 weeks, 15 days away from the NFL draft. We're going to have our little draft party too here in Delray, Florida. It's going to be fun. It's going to be at the Honeys. It's actually at Ski Bowl, and it's going to be awesome. We're going to be live. We're going to try to go live. We're talking about it. We'll see, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe we'll go live during the pick. Something quick.
You're bringing equipment with you?
No, your phone. We do it on the phone.
All right, we can talk about that. But all right. Again, we'll be back on Tuesday, regular timing. I don't think I have a guest scheduled for next week. No, I do not. But we'll see. Maybe something changes between now and then. So we'll just go our situation like we normally do. Talk about any comings of, any news, any updates from this team. But again, like we talked about yesterday, it's like the slow time. Maybe the week of the draft, you start getting some rumblings, like,
Well, you know what? I think between now and maybe the next time we're on, something under the radar is going to happen. I'm not sure what, but I feel it. I'm feeling something. Who knows?
At this point, any news would be like good news. Like, just give me something.
Maybe the Jets trade both their number ones to Cincy for Burrow. Who knows? Maybe something like that.
Maybe the Jets figure out a way to convince Spytech that Fernando Mendoza isn't the guy.
Oh man!
Oh my God! But yeah, the infinite quarterback search will continue. But like I said, I mentioned last week, I actually am going to start doing something, and we could do something together too, as season progresses. But I do want to start doing some work on these quarterbacks. Obviously, a post-draft thing.
Of course, after the draft.
Yeah, it's a post-draft thing. We'll start getting into that. That'd be pretty interesting because there's 8 guys. We got to figure out these 8 guys, and we got to rank them. We got to figure out a ranking system before the season starts and see where the thing lands. Last year, Cade Klubnik as the number 1 guy overall, or Lenore Sellers was up there too. And both those guys aren't even – I mean, Sellers went back to college, but Klubnik is even like a guy that we're talking about with like a 7th
rounders, man. He's going in the 6th. Anyway. I take him in the 6th. I don't care. I want 2 of these quarterbacks this year, not named Simpson. I want Aller, Nussmeier. I don't care.
I mean, you know what? The way that Mougey operated day 3 last year, maybe it's not the worst thing in the world to kind of get him in there, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, Dom. Appreciate it. Jet fans, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Jake's channel, hit him a like, hit him a subscribe. Everyone, appreciate you for joining, and let's go Jets.